Acquaintance.
Claire has a wide circle of friends and acquaintances. He hoped their acquaintance would develop further. I had little acquaintance with modern poetry.
Detour.
Who had to make a detour around the flooded fields. The president detoured to Chicago for a special meeting.
Enrichment.
Neuroscience. Neural.
Neural processes.
Dyslexia. Transition.
The transition from school to full-time work.
Abrupt.
An abrupt change, halt, departure. An abrupt manner.
Hip.
Sprout.
New leaves sprouting from the trees. Hundreds of mushrooms had sprouted up overnight. Tim has sprouted a beard since we last saw him.
Rough and tumble.
The rough and tumble of politics.
Distress.
The newspaper article caused the actor considerable distress. Economic financial distress. A distress signal.
Decimal.
The decimal system. The decimal O, 61 stands for 61 hundredths.
Algebra. Geometry.
The geometry of a spider's web.
Prompting.
He wrote the letter without further prompting.
Lackluster.
Reliably.
Outpace.
He easily outpaced the other runners.
Assumption.
An underlying implicit assumption. Their assumption of power control.
Gel.
Get across. That's the message I want to get across.
Statistics.
Mathematical statistics.
Discourse.
A discourse on issues of gender and sexuality. Spoken written discourse.
Muster.
We mustered what support we could for the plan. The troops mustered.
Alternate.
Alternate layers of fruit and cream. John has to work on alternate Sundays. Tucked away.
Perpetually. Basin.
A pudding basin. The Amazon basin.
Feeder.
Plankton feeders. Whiz. A whiz at baseball.
Top notch.
Accelerate.
Inflation continues to accelerate. The runners accelerated smoothly around the bend.
calculus, wrapped,
A rapt audience.
bureaucratic,
Bureaucratic power control procedures organizations. Dwell on upon something. So you made a mistake, but there's no need to dwell on it.
dissertation,
thermodynamic,
deem,
The evening was deemed a great success.
Intrigue.
You've really intrigued me. Tell me more. Political intrigue.
intrigued,
He was intrigued by her story.
plumb,
She spent her life plumbing the mysteries of the human psyche. He was standing plumb in the middle of the road. He's plumb crazy. By all accounts. The meetings by all accounts broke no new ground on bank reform measures.
division,
Cell division. The division sign. There are deep divisions in the party over the war. Outlier point. An outlier point calculator.
Convert.
The hotel is going to be converted into a nursing home. A sofa that converts into a bed. He converted from Christianity to Islam.
eminently,
She seems eminently suitable for the job.
diversity,
The biological diversity of the rainforests. There is a need for greater diversity and choice in education.
flora,
Alpine flora.
fauna,
The local flora and fauna.
zeal,
Her missionary reforming religious political zeal.
biographer, plotter, corroborate,
The evidence was corroborated by 2 independent witnesses.
assiduous,
Assiduousness.
deliberately,
She's been deliberately ignoring him all day. He packed up his possessions slowly and deliberately.
retrieve,
She bent to retrieve her comb from the floor. To retrieve information from the database. You can only retrieve the situation by apologizing.
relevant,
A relevant suggestion question point. Her novel is still relevant today.
fixate,
endorse,
I wholeheartedly endorse his remarks.
bias,
Accusations of political bias in news programs. The course has a strong practical bias. The skirt is cut on the bias. In contradiction to. The idea, in contradiction to the company's policy, was rejected.
Hireable. Ambivalence.
Prestigious.
A prestigious award. A prestigious university.
Magna cum laude.
She graduated magna cum laude from UCLA.
Pedagogy. Credentials.
He has all the credentials for the job.
Embellish. Retain.
To retain your independence. A soil that retains moisture. A retaining fee.
Intrinsic.
The intrinsic value of education.
Precision.
Done with mathematical precision.
Denizen.
Polar bears, denizens of the frozen north. Ply somebody with something. He plied me with questions from the moment he arrived. Brain teaser.
Metal.
The next game will be a real test of their mettle.
Corporate.
Corporate finance planning strategy. The BBC is a corporate body. Corporate responsibility.
Preach.
She preached to the congregation about forgiveness. To preach the word of God. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to preach.
Vet. Rudimentary.
They were given only rudimentary training in the job. Some dinosaurs had only rudimentary teeth. Ship somebody off. The children were shipped off to a boarding school at an early age.
Thorny.
A thorny question issue problem. A thorny bush.
Bold.
It was a bold move on their part to open a business in France. The bold outline of a mountain against the sky. Highlight the important words in bold type.
Sweeping.
Sweeping reforms changes. A sweeping generalization statement.
Exorbitant.
Exorbitant costs, fares, fees, prices, rents.
Untainted. Hypothesis.
To formulate, confirm a hypothesis. It would be pointless to engage in hypothesis before we have the facts.
Cull.
Culling.
Disparity.
The white disparity between rich and poor.
Aptly. Epitomize.
The fighting qualities of the team are epitomized by the captain.
Attributable.
Their illnesses are attributable to a poor diet. Be due to.
Fraud.
She was charged with credit card fraud. He's nothing but a liar and a fraud.
debacle, surfeit, preoccupation,
She found his preoccupation with money irritating. She spoke slowly in a state of preoccupation.
inadvertently,
We had inadvertently left without paying the bill.
Polysyllabic.
infection,
To be exposed to infection. An ear, throat, etc. infection.
halt,
She walked toward him and then halted. Work came to a halt when the machine broke down.
ridden,
A disease-ridden slum. She was guilt-ridden at the way she had treated him.
observant,
Observant walkers may see red deer along this stretch of the road.
pivot,
West Africa was the pivot of the cocoa trade. Windows that pivot from a central point are easy to clean.
elective,
An elective democracy. An elective body. Elective surgery.
impede,
Work in the building was impeded by severe weather.
impediment,
The level of inflation is a serious impediment to economic recovery. A speech impediment.
borderline,
In borderline cases, teachers will take the final decision based on the student's previous work. This biography sometimes crosses the borderline between fact and fiction.
stink,
Her breath stank of garlic. What do you think of the idea? I think it stinks. The stink of sweat and urine.